Okay. Hey guys, it's Amanda and Janelle. And we are here today to talk to you guys about one more round of frequently asked questions. We have some updates from our most recent guidelines. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys and we'll get to it. All right. So this is our frequently asked questions edition with the nursing department. We think it's volume 7. I honestly can't keep track of how many we have done. But this presentation was put together by myself and Sasha and Janelle. It's just to get to a couple of the questions about the recent change in our guidelines and the updates that were sent out from DESI and from the CDC.
Okay, so as we sent in our last email, we have updated our guidelines in response to the latest updates from DESI and the CDC. So if you haven't already reviewed our guidelines, we have included the link right there if you want to click, but we're able to summarize it in here. So students are no longer required to wear masks while outdoors, regardless of if they can safely distance or not. Staff must continue to wear masks if they cannot maintain a safe distance of 6 feet. In addition, we've updated our travel policies pertaining to quarantine following exposure to a case of COVID-19 for fully vaccinated persons. And students are now permitted to share objects while in school, assuming that they are properly cleaned and disinfected between use. Okay, so this is the number one question I have been getting, but can we stop doing insert here? Not yet. I know that we are getting close to the finish line, but we are still working with a contagious virus that spreads via aerosolized droplets, and we shouldn't slow down and stop just yet. Many of our students are not eligible to become vaccinated due to their age or health conditions, but this is changing soon, so we can be updating you guys when that happens. So we are still requiring PCR or molecular testing for symptoms of COVID-19, and this requirement includes people who are fully vaccinated. We are still requiring that people wear masks and PPE correctly, regardless of vaccination status. In all school environments, we are still increasing airflow, taking respiratory precautions, washing hands frequently, and being mindful of any exposures in the community to prevent the spread of COVID-19. We are still requiring that all staff, students, parents, and guardians self-screen for temperatures above 100 degrees, symptoms of COVID-19, and exposure to a known positive case of COVID-19 at home before attending school or work. We are still asking for students to inform the health office of absences related to illnesses or symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay, so one of the other questions that we get that's on the other side of things is people who are concerned where they feel like, but if I'm vaccinated, is it possible for me to transmit the infection to somebody else without me knowing? So this is another one of our questions that staff have been asking about. The answer is a numbers game. It depends on a variety of factors. The number one question is the other person in your life somebody who is also vaccinated? Which vaccine did they get? Is the other person immunocompromised, for example, undergoing chemo or radiation therapy for cancer, a transplant recipient, someone with an autoimmune disorder, or someone who is on dialysis? There is evidence that shows that people who are immunocompromised do not have as strong of an immune reaction to any of the vaccines that have been developed, and the protection that they receive from those vaccines is not as robust as somebody who has a healthy and strong immune system. Evidence is being collected about what viral load is necessary for somebody who's infected with COVID-19 to be contagious. So just a review, if you're exposed to a virus, the virus uses your body and replicates to numbers very quickly by kind of hijacking your own cells and replicating. And then the number of virus particles that's present in your blood is what's called a viral load. So that's something that virologists have been studying for many years. in relation to other contagious diseases, and they try to find a number of virus particles that needs to be present in a blood sample for that person to be considered contagious. And we don't have that number yet with COVID-19, but we're getting close to understanding what the viral load would be. So the most recent studies on viral load, which have been conducted with healthcare providers who are working frequently with COVID-19 and who have been vaccinated with mRNA vaccines, so that would be Moderna or Pfizer, seem to indicate that if you have been fully vaccinated, you're 14 days after your second dose of an mRNA vaccine with Moderna or Pfizer, then the vaccine would protect you at about an 80% efficacy rate from being infected with COVID-19. So it would protect you from COVID-19, from SARS-CoV-2 being able to replicate inside of your body. So 80% would be considered your rate of protection against being infected on any level, asymptomatic or not. And so that's actually a really great number. But it is a numbers game if you think about who you are and who the person you're interacting with, and how much spread there is in the community where you live. If you're working with people, if you're a healthcare provider, you're working with people who have active disease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the vaccines have held up even with the new, more contagious variants that are coming from different parts of the world where infection rates are really high. The vaccines have held up to a rate of 92 to 94% protection of those who are fully vaccinated against severe disease, hospitalization, and death. So all of that is really good news. We're sorry we can't give you like a firm yes or no on this question, but it is like a numbers issue, and it isn't exactly something that we can say, absolutely, go forth. You could never infect somebody, because there is still a lot of factors in play when you think about that. And this is one of the reasons that we are still requiring that people who are fully vaccinated would still have to quarantine from attending work or school for 5 days after their exposure. So their exposure would be day 0. And then they would have to count 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then obtain either a PCR, an NAAT, or a molecular test to make sure that they were not a part of that 20% who could possibly have been infected with COVID-19 and be asymptomatic or have mild symptoms. If hopefully that answers your question rather than creating more questions. But if you have more questions about that, contact one of us. We're happy to talk to you.
Things to consider when looking ahead. What does community spread look like in your community? The nursing department frequently looks at positivity test rates in this map that shows active positive cases in towns and cities throughout the Commonwealth. Is there anyone in your life who is still high risk for COVID-19 infection? These are people who are immunocompromised and people who haven't had the vaccine, among other conditions. Who are you in contact with on a regular basis who is unvaccinated, unable to be vaccinated for COVID-19? We believe that SARS, the virus that causes the COVID-19 infection, will very likely cause seasonal outbreaks similar to the cold flu vaccine, and that vaccine boosters to address variant spread and seasonal spread are highly likely to be implemented. So this may mean that we may see a slight resurgence in the fall or winter like we did in this past year.
And that's it for today. So once again, we just want to say thank you for all that you're doing and continue to do for our community to keep everybody healthy and safe. You know where to find us. Keep asking your questions, keep sending them in over email or asking us about them in the hallway. We're happy to answer them. We're so happy to be able to present this information that we have learned and share it with you. And we will see you guys next time.